Hello Factorio people. Welcome back to the broadcast from Space Age. Hope you had a wonderful Christmas break. I did. I wasn't too ill in the end. I was well enough to make Christmas dinner and the like. And play a bit of Factorio, more importantly than anything else, of course. Thank you for the continued support. If you want to do the old like, comment, subscribe for me. We got a lot to get into. So let's into. We'd just about gone to space. In the minimal amount of going to space that was allowed. We built the space platform because we want to get space science done. Space science is the next thing on the list. Just a reminder, I'm using the Visible Planets in Space and HD Planets mod. It's pretty good. Except when you move, it does this, which is not the best, but I think there are some settings about parallax scrolling. Anyway, so yes, we've launched a rocket. We want to get space science done. Space science is easy enough. And other than that, things are just sort of quietly ticking over. We've got some things that obviously we need to look at. Red circuits are very poor. But we mostly today, we want to get a logistics model set up. So we want to get space science so that we can do logistics hub things. And then we want to also think about going to the next planet. Because there's not really much else to do here on Navis now. We've sort of done it all, for the most part. So let's look at space science. Space science is exceedingly simple. The challenge is not making the space science, really. The challenge is getting all of the stuff up there. Understanding how to get the rockets to bring you stuff and things like that. Space science itself is actually very simple. So here's the space science platform, which will sustain us for a good while, probably the rest of the game, to be honest with you, until we start mega basing it. We've got our hands here. We should grab the asteroids, place them onto a belt that just goes all the way around for some reason. I don't know why it goes all the way around, to be honest with you. Like, I just put the belt around the edge of the platform, like the crushers are only here. It's more sort of a storage thing, because you can't put chests in space. So really, you sort of just use the belts as quasi-storage. The iron ore goes straight into a furnace, which gets turned into iron plates. The carbon and the ice goes on a shared belt, and then that's your space science. It really is as simple as that, to the point where I didn't even bother bringing up productivity modules or anything like that. Like, rate calculator tells me that this is all perfectly fine. These are on a minus because there's a small chance that when you crush an asteroid you get that asteroid back. Which is what these filter inserters do. So your output just goes before your input, so if this does output an asteroid it can go straight back on here. But the ratios for this are totally fine. This will give you enough iron ore to make enough plates, to make enough space science, providing you're crushing as many asteroids as you possibly can, of course. Like, you're beholden to the speed of bringing asteroids in, which is random, but as you can see here there is a backlog, and ice is certainly the bottleneck, as it often is at this point in the game. If we open a Factoriopedia on something, anything, that was not quite what I wanted, but if we open Factoriopedia on Navis, no, if we open Factoriopedia on space route from Navis, then you can see here at this side, this is the Navis side, this is the Vulcanus side. So it doesn't matter which one of these you pick, as long as you always pick Navis on the left. You can see that metallic asteroids are very common, carbon asteroids are less common, and ice asteroids are not common at all. So ice is always going to be a bottleneck here, but... And then we just send this stuff down to the planet. So we need to build a... what are they called? Cargo landing pad. That's the one. Oh, I've got one on me already. Look at that. It's like I knew what I was doing. So put the cargo landing pad somewhere near the science, I guess. Doesn't really matter where I put it, because... And then we just ask it to bring down some space science. So let's just say bring down 200 space science, go back to the platform, off it pops. And there it is. So we're going to need to redo the lab setup as well, because now we've got 4 belts, we need to do the magic with the labs. And over here you can see that steel was becoming an issue. So what I've actually done is I've added this all the way around, and I'm just going to put another thing here just to output, because we need steel. Basically steel seems to be the bottleneck right now. Steel is going into a lot of things that we need. It's causing a bottleneck on purple science, and we also need a lot of space platforms, or at least we did. We don't need them as much anymore, but it's good to just have them being made. You can't prod module them, which is irritating but understandable. Okay, so let's fix these issues then. I found it. I found the setting. You go into mod settings and you just jack the parallax factor up. Higher values will make the planet move less, lower values will make it move more. I've just put mine on 300. That means that the parallax effect of the planet is minimized. So that looks a lot better, personally. So that's how you fix that. You also need, on the space platform, this is reflected in the episode 7 blueprints, don't worry about that. Blueprint book available in the description below at the low price of whatever you want. I.e. nothing. I don't know why I said that. You do need to make sure that your belt does not become full of asteroids that you don't need anything from. So obviously ice you pretty much always want. But it's still a good idea to hook up a circuit condition to the belts and then just output the count of asteroids and then just start throwing excess asteroids into space. But you can see here now that this has been running for a decent amount of time, there is no... This is enough. You get enough ice asteroids to do all of this. So this will make you 90 science per minute, which is more than of the other sciences we're getting down. Okay, and this is how you get 4 belts into one building, like this. The blue, your regular 1 tile long inserters target this belt. This inserter here is targeting this belt, this inserter here is targeting this belt, and then you just weave this in. You can do this like this, or you can do this like this. It's entirely up to you. I like to do this. Some people don't like to do this because they don't like inserters grabbing from curves on belts, which I respect. And it appears that I did have a plan to do this bit in this part of the show. So let's just do it again, just to prove that it works. We'll put a filter inserter on this and say only output space science. Are you on your way? Yes, here we go. And there we go. You can see that this inserter does have a slightly harder time grabbing from this bit of the belt than this one, but it's not like it can't do it. Really is pretty irrelevant at this stage in the game. Yeah. Okay. So this, the new steel line is hooked up. Steel is still an issue. It will continue to be an issue for some reason. It's just going into a lot of things that we need at the moment. Mostly the space platform thing, like 360 steel a minute. How much steel do we even make? One of these stacks makes 396, because we've got a couple of levels of steel productivity bonus. Well, I've got one level of steel productivity bonus. These are expensive. They're very good. Just free steel plate productivity on everything that makes steel. So even your bog standard steel furnaces now have a productivity bar. So for every 10 steel plates, you're going to get one free, because we've got 10% productivity. There we go, every little helps. Okay, so we can now finally research a logistics mall. We have the basic chests already, the red one and the yellow one. The red one is a passive provider chest, and you just put things into it. Probably better put it somewhere more sensible than that. A red one is for output only, basically, is the way to think of it. You can't put a filter on it. Logistics robots will never deliver to a red chest. They will only ever take from a red chest. Whereas a yellow chest, they will do both. If there's wood in here and you ask for wood, it will bring you this wood. But if this is the wood chest, because you've specified that this is the wood chest with a logistics filter, or there is already wood inside it, that's also good enough for the robots to know what to do with it. And you put wood in your trash slots, then the robots, very slowly at this stage in the game, will deliver it to this, except they won't, because I have a wood deposit down here already, so the wood just gets burnt alongside the coal. Just to get rid of it here, you can see there's some on the bell already, so that was a bad example. But that's not enough to do a full logistics mall, because with this you can't actually request anything. You can't say, bring me items, so I can build a thing. And for that we need the logistics system, which gives you the purple, the blue and the green chests. So let me show you how I do a logistics mall. So once I feel confident that we've basically got as much space as we need, I terminate the bus. And I start dumping stuff into red chests. I put a limiter on these chests. I've just done one space for now, but I tend to just pick and choose depending on how I feel on the day. So that everything terminates into here. So everything that we want in the logistics hub will also be here, barring maybe iron ore, but that's fair enough, we've got some iron ore there that we can use. And then what I like to do is I like to have my easy copy and pastable requester settings thing. Because what you want is you want the output inserter connected to the logistics network with a limiter that says don't put anything into this chest if there are more than X amount of whatever the thing is you're making. And this is connected to the logistics network, so this is not connected to this chest in general, this is connected to everything that is within the orange section of your logistics network. So now we've built a few more roboports. We plop these down, get rid of all this blinking. We can press L at any point to open the logistics network and see what is in our logistics network. So this is anywhere where we have a storage chest already. So a lot of this will obviously go, because this is all mall stuff that we're going to be superseding here with the logistics mall. But this helps you, if you set the limit for just this chest with the circuit network directly, it's not as useful, because you may like demolish a whole section of the base, bring back 1,000 belts, and those go in another chest somewhere else for whatever reason. maybe this chest is full at the time. So it's best to set your inserters for the logistics network here, and so I set that automatically. Set the recipe automatically, because this is, you want to just minimize the number of clicks you've got with this, really, because they didn't do the quality of life thing I was really hoping they were going to do. Because we all know that you can, let me build one of these so that it stops being a ghost. We all know that you can shift right click an assembler and shift left click another assembler and it copies and pastes the recipe. You can also do that for a blue chest, which is very handy. So if we say we want this to be steel chests, we can shift right click this and then shift left click the requester chest, and it will bring enough stuff to make, what is it, 10 seconds worth of that item? What's 8 divided by this? God knows, some ungodly number. You can't do that on a yellow chest. For some reason, you can't shift right click an assembler and shift left click a yellow chest and have that set the logistics filter, nor have that set the filter on the inserter. The filter on the inserter just becomes the item ingredients, which is helpful in some cases, but not helpful in other cases. So you want to minimize the number of clicks when you're setting this up, because this can be quite a laborious task. And I did experiment with the new combinator stuff, selector combinators, you know, like, oh, if I hook the assembler up to the selector combinator and then output the, you know, you can output the stack size, and I thought, oh, maybe I could output the stack size to this inserter so that it's always one stack. But you can't set the logistics connection by that. You can only set filters, stack sizes of the arm itself. I thought, oh, okay, fine, well maybe I can hook it up to the box directly, and then, but again with the box you can't. You can turn the box on and off now with the circuit network, which is weird. So like, this will not do anything in the logistics network unless this condition is true, which is extremely strange. There's probably a use case for it, but so unfortunately we're still on the old manual. We'll do this. Making loads of steel chests. It's fine. This save is not a real save. Don't worry about it. It takes a little while. It doesn't take that long to set it all up. So you need the important things, you know. So let me start at least. Okay, so here's your starter for 10. A lot of things don't have the stuff because we don't make them anywhere, but that's easy enough. Best thing to do is just start with your yellow and your blue chests. Thankfully, you can still do the shift right click and shift left click on a ghost entity now, which you couldn't do before. So that's extremely helpful. So if we start at least with the yellow chests and the blue chests, this will say bring me a whole bunch of green circuits, red circuits, steel chests. I guess we should do the same with the steel chests. Make sure that our limiters are done. So I put 50 in as the default, so when I copy and paste these around, so every single one of these will already have a condition that says disable if there are more than 50 wooden boxes. And I use wooden boxes as just sort of like a placeholder, as like a null value. And I also do the same for these logistics filters, because if you copy and paste all these down and these logistics filters are empty, then when you do a big deconstruct, it starts putting any old thing in there. So it's always best to have a null filter, really. So yeah, so you kind of do have to go through this stuff. But as you can see, it's not that bad, especially if something ends up in the chest already. You can pick it up, click the logistic filter with it, put it back down. So it's not too bad. But of course this is all in the blueprint book, so if you really don't want to do this, then don't. This will cause an absolute huge drain on all of your resources, because now you're suddenly asking your base to build stacks upon stacks of absolutely everything. Especially belts. You may notice there's no space for green belts. You can't build green belts on Now V, so don't leave a space for green belt builds in your mall. It's a small thing. It's not very obvious, but there we go. But do leave extra space for extra things. This is only phase 1 of the logistics mall. There are many other things that I realise I'm going to need. But just basically, just do it how you want. I mean, you can use the blueprint, or you can set this up yourself with what you feel is necessary. This is like a lot of experience with me in Factorio, knowing what I need, what I don't need, what I personally don't want at all. You know, if you're playing with the biters on properly, you've got an extra space here for military stuff, which is also very helpful, etc, etc. But yes, this will cause a huge drain in supplies, and so I decided to try and bolster that for a little bit, because the goal at the moment is to just basically get everything nice and sorted, so that when we leave we could just have this base ticking over, doing infinite researches, you know, doing productivity research, steel plate productivity while we're away. So let's jump forward and see the logistics mall in full swing, shall we? It's almost there, but you can see that it's caused a huge issue with both green circuits and red circuits. It's also caused a problem with power. Power is getting a little bit too close to the edge for my liking, and we haven't even put these roboports down. You've got two choices really. You can either just leave it and it will sort itself out over time, or you can use this as an opportunity to see what your base is kind of lacking. Obviously it's very strange, because your base is not going to always be making all of this all of the time. You know, like if I drag the rate calculator over all of this, you're not going to need 30. Even 30 doesn't sound like that many, you know. 30 red circuits a second forever. That's not how this works. It makes everything and then it stops working. And then when you need some roboports, you've got some roboports. When you need some substations, you've got some substations. The idea is to just have it all in one place. But I take this time to bolster some things anyway. Even adding this extra iron ore supply did not work as well as I'd hoped. You can see here that it's still not even really 3 full belts, which means that, yeah, sure, some of it's going into the steel, but this is supposed to be bolstering this dying ore patch here, which is now under 1 million, and that's not really cutting it. Which is causing green circuits to not work very well because of the stupid way I set this up. For some reason I did it like this rather than like a proper actual bus. Like, I don't know what I was thinking there with that. I'm in oh, it's just the starter base, it's fine, it can be as terrible as you want. So I have the bright idea, especially because we're playing in peaceful mode and we don't need to worry about it, of just shipping this iron ore in via belts. I've spoken at length before in my other series about the opportunity cost of using belts versus using trains, and at what distance is it more efficient to start using a train versus just using belts. And when you're playing in peaceful mode, really, just use the belts. You know, unless you're talking like ridiculous distances like this. This will be a lot of belts to go from here to here, but it's easy to set up, it's mindless to set up. You drag some power over, you set the mining up, and you forget about it. With a train, you have to set the train up. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you realise you've never done. You have to fuel the train, you have to unload the train, you have to unload the train efficiently, etc, etc. You know, like, just... For me, in this exact situation, I think belts is fine. If it was any further away than this, I might think about doing a train. And especially if I was not playing in peaceful mode, I would do a train. But yeah. So let's set up another. Let's set that up, and we also set up another row of power, I think. So here we go. Here's the extra iron mine. If you want to know, fact fans, this was 3,000 red belts. That's not that bad, is it? 3,000 red belts. It's okay. I've demolished a whole bunch of stuff that we now don't need because we've got the logistics mall. So as you can see, the old mall here is gone. The belt mall has gone. That's all just sort of being done here now. I've added a few more modules for stuff. Was the space stuff here before? No, extra stuff for space platform things. And more importantly, I've now got the research done for Power Armor Mark II. So we finally don't have to worry about bloody robots running out of battery all the time. Power Armor Mark II has a grid. What is the grid size? 10 square, so that's nice. Loads of batteries, loads more solar panels, exoskeletons, etc. Cool. However, power is still an issue. Even adding the third row, power is an issue. So I want to start mining uranium, basically. Uranium gives you access to a lot of very easy power, but it also very subtly gives you access to these portable fission reactors, which were not in Factorio 1.1. They're new for Space Age. And there's sort of a nice middle ground between solar panels and these portable fusion reactors, which they've pushed to be a little bit more late game. And they will do a lot better of a job than these solar panels will. And they'll work throughout the day. And nights, more importantly. Unfortunately, the closest uranium is over here, so once again I'm just going to belt this over. It's not far enough away from a train. Plus, you need sulfuric acid to mine uranium, so if you're going to route a pipe all the way over there, you may as well route the belts. You don't need a huge amount of uranium, ever. Even if you're making uranium ammo, which we won't be. You don't really need that much. So let's just quickly set that up. I know I'm going at breakneck pace here. I've got quite a lot to cover. I could have split this into 2 episodes, but I haven't for you. Obviously I didn't do an episode over Christmas. Christmas Day was, what was it? Wednesday? Tuesday? Wednesday? Close to my upload date, so I just didn't do it. So instead I'm just condensing it all into 1 episode for you. But all the blueprints are in the book. And if you've got any questions, you know where the comment section is. Alright, let's mine uranium. It's easy, it's quick. Don't need to belabor this. Just bring the sulfuric acid over and then mine it in the same way you would normally, but just plug the sulfuric acid in. Simple. So I'm belting 2 lanes of uranium over. Mining the uranium unlocks the trigger techs. So now you can start making centrifuges. And centrifuges just have the recipe for processing the uranium. 10 uranium ore in, other uranium products out. Put those in logistics chests for now. You don't need a huge amount of uranium-235 to start making... No, don't do that. To start making the good stuff. However, what you do need is a section in the mall for nuclear stuff, which once again puts a huge drain on red circuits, because a nuclear power plant takes 500 advanced circuits to make. Centrifuges take advanced circuits to build. Heat pipes, thankfully, steam turbines are all good. What I did do, what I can do, it's a bit strange, because when you unlock this via the trigger tech, this is a key difference from Factorio 1, is that you have to mine uranium to unlock the trigger tech for uranium processing, to unlock the techs further down the line. So you don't ever get access to steam turbines unless you're already mining uranium. In Factorio 1.1, you could just research nuclear power and it would give you access to this stuff. Which meant that you could get steam turbines without ever mining uranium, which means it was a lot easier and it made a lot more sense to just replace your boilers with steam turbines, your crappy steam engines with steam turbines. Because these take 60 steam in the same way that two steam engines do, but they output 5.82 megawatts versus the 1.8 megawatts that two steam engines would output. But of course, if you're already mining uranium and doing and unlock the trigger text for it and stuff, you're like 90% of the way there anyway. So that's less relevant in Factorio Space Age. I have a nuclear power blueprint from my vanilla playthrough. It worked very well. But of course, we got to wait a decent chunk of time to get that done because we need lots of concrete and advanced circuits to make 4 nuclear reactors. And there's also a bit of concrete in here as well. I think that's about it for all the changes for the logistics mall. Is that? Yeah. So the blueprint book will have the logistics mall looking like this. There are a few small tweaks to stack sizes and things in chests that I didn't realise until a little bit further along. So for example, these rail ramps, they only take half a second to craft, so that when you do a shift right click and a shift left click on the chest, it goes, well, how much concrete will I need then to make 10 seconds worth of this? Oh, it's 3,900 refined concrete, which is like 8,000 regular concrete. You don't really want that in a chest. So you do have to be a bit careful when you're doing things like this, but don't worry, I've changed those numbers. Those numbers are basically fixed in the main blueprint version, but just be aware of that for yourself, mostly just for the really quick recipes, the quick and expensive recipes, of which there aren't very many, but apparently rail ramps is one, rail supports is another. Okay, so while we're letting all of that nuclear power stuff go on, we need to do my favourite, a housekeeping phase. I think the most important thing from the housekeeping phase really was just making sure that red circuits were up to scratch. I've upgraded the assemblers to be assembly machine Mark IIIs, because we now have those being made en masse in the logistics mall. And I've extended the length of the belts. The only thing we need to just double check is that these are outputting fast enough, which they're currently not. I've put some speed and some quality modules in the assemblers to make sure that they can keep up, so this is just about enough for one red belt of copper cable. So this, with the extra productivity from the assembly machines, the assembly machine Mark IIIs have 4 module slots in, so it starts to become a lot more relevant to use them. 16% productivity is a lot more enticing to me on a 1.25 crafting speed machine than 8% productivity on a 0.75 crafting speed machine. So this won't fully solve the red circuit problem, but it will help quite a lot. Let me add this to the blueprint book actually, just because that would be sensible, just to upgrade this, tidy this up. Just right-clicking things that I don't want, just to make sure that they're not in the way of the blueprint for you. Create blueprint. There we go. Episode 7. Advanced Circuits Mark II. Where are they? Where are they? There they are. There you go. That's in the blueprint book for you. That was the most important thing from the housekeeping phase, really. The other things are, I forget, basically. I forgot to mark the things that I did. But you can see things are ticking over very nicely. The nuclear power plants are being built. It's just red circuits. Even steel has sorted itself out now. Even steel is fine. Oh yes, of course. I did the same thing down here for the green circuits. So upgraded these to assembly machine Mark IIs. This will be just about one belt, one green, one red belt of green circuits. It's fine. I do really regret putting it in this space. I don't know what I was thinking, why I didn't consolidate the bus and then start building things. I thought I was being smart and clever, treating green circuits almost like a furnace stack, because they are kind of important in that regard, but because there's no point in building, I see this all the time, there's no point in building like 4 lanes of copper and 4 lanes of iron and then just immediately having 2 lanes of that be used for green circuits, but still having your bus have 4 lanes of space on it for each of those things. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. Science is also not doing anything at the moment, just to make sure that all the red circuits go on. So once this purple science gets backed up, we should start to see everything working out. And the uranium processing has given us already 16 to 35. You only need 1 to make 10 fuel cells. And you only need a few fuel cells to make the... where is it? Portable fission reactors as well. 4 fuel cells, and then these last forever. You don't even need to put fuel in them, so there we go. Okay, let's get this nuclear power plant built, shall we? Yes, couldn't be me casually standing in between 4 functioning nuclear reactors, but there we go. It looks daunting. It really isn't. We use the logistics network to bring in some fuel cells. You can now read the status of a nuclear reactor with the circuit network. So we only want the nuclear reactors working under certain conditions, and those conditions are when there is no fuel in them already, and when there is less than a certain amount of steam in storage. Now, this of course makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't make any real world sense at all. The steam never ever ever condenses or cools down. You use the nuclear power to heat up heat exchangers, which are fancy boilers, which make steam, and then you use the steam to power the steam turbines. That's all that's happening here. So once you've got the steam, you don't need the heat anymore. If you're making more steam than you're using, you don't need the nuclear reactors to work, because the nuclear reactors, unless told otherwise, will just continue to burn through uranium fuel cells, even if the heat pipes are already at max heat, even if the heat exchangers aren't working. So we don't want the nuclear reactors to be powered if there is already enough steam in the tanks, because ironically the steam turbines are more sensible than the nuclear reactors in that they only use as much power as they need to use. They don't just turn around, they don't just continue to turbine with steam being fed to them. So we read the contents of the steam tanks, we send that to the circuit network, and we say only put a fuel cell into the nuclear reactor when both the conditions are true. One condition is there's not already a fuel cell in there already, and the other condition is when there's not enough steam in the system. This ensures that we don't just mindlessly burn through uranium fuel cells, because given the chance, nuclear reactors will just do that. They will just burn through them forever. If we don't use any nuclear power for a very, very, very long time, and everything starts to cool down, the other thing that makes absolutely no sense is that even with no fuel in, these will never ever go below 500 degrees once they've already hit 500 degrees. So once they hit that 500 degree threshold, they will stay warm as long as they are not, as long as no heat is being used by the heat exchangers. And as soon as heat is starting to be used by the heat exchangers, that means that steam is being used, and once steam is being used, that will insert more fuel. So this is absolutely 100% foolproof. I used this for the 150 hours that my other playthrough went through without any issues whatsoever. It's great. And it outputs a lot of power. 40 megawatts for each nuclear reactor, and then the reason they're in this grid is that they get more, they have a neighbourhood bonus, so they're warming each other up as well. So they're on 200% neighbourhood bonus when they're all on. So it's a lot of power. It's a lot of power. You can see that we've gone from a measly like 100 megawatts that the steam turbines, the boilers were providing, the steam engines were providing, to a max capacity now of 667 megawatts. And even at full tilt, I'm pretty sure this won't use as much nuclear fuel as we can get from the very simple uranium processing here. So there's already there's 17 uranium-235 still in the chest. There's 100 fuel cells in the thing. There's 30 in the machine, and all of the requested chests are full of what they want. It's fine. It's good. It's all good. Everything's backed up. Everything's gone quiet. It's done. Now this is finished. We can leave this god-forsaken planet and go to Vulcanus. We have to research the ability to go to Vulcanus first. But we need a ship capable of getting there. We need to actually do things like thrusters and build a different space platform. I'm not very good at designing the space platforms. I have to say. I keep going through it, and they always end up being quite ugly and probably not very space efficient, and it feels bad to make them too big, because especially in the early game when it costs quite a lot to send up one rocket, and even if that one rocket has the maximum amount of 50 space platforms, you know, you have to send up like 1,000 to build a ship. Like even Bronze Star here was 651 space platforms. That's like 13 rocket launches. It's very irritating. But I gave it a go. So let's have a quick look. Here it is. Here it is being built. In orbit. You need to make fuel is the only real difference, and you need to defend it from asteroids that come in. So I don't know if this works. I haven't tested it. This is as far as I've gone. This is my actual up-to-date save file. This is the save file I will use to continue playing the game after I finish recording this video. It should work. The arms should grab the asteroids, put them on the thing. They get crushed into the carbon and the iron ore and the ice that use the same way that space science is made, but those ingredients also make the fuel. Carbon and water make thruster fuel, and iron ore and water make thruster oxidizer. And then those go into the tank, which then go into the thrusters. I need to maybe think about connecting the circuit condition to these in some way to make them a bit more efficient, but we'll see what we need. And then the excess iron ore, because of course we'll have a lot of excess iron ore, as we can tell from this system, will go into making ammo for the turrets. You only need gun turrets to get to and from the first 3 planets. Space map? Space map? Where's the space map gone? Hello? I haven't researched another planet, so I can't see the space map. That's right. To go between Nauvis, Vulcanus, Gleba, and Fulgura, the first 4 planets, you only ever encounter small and medium asteroids, and medium asteroids are very easily destroyed with bullets. As you can see here, they only have 10% physical damage resistance, they only have 400 health. So providing you have researched a few levels of physical projectile damage, which we have been ticking over, our firearm bullet damage is already on plus 100%. The turrets also get the stack bonus, so not only do the bullets do 100% extra damage, the turrets do 100% extra damage on top of that. So I'm hoping this will be fine. I also don't have a name for the ship, so if anyone wants to name the ship, do so in the comments below. So basically we're just waiting for deliveries. And to that end I've added another rocket silo. Put prod modules into it just to make sure we're getting the most out of it. We do make enough processing units, low density structures and rocket fuel to launch 2 rockets at a time, thankfully. It's just quite a slow process because we've got a lot of the stuff already. We're going to need another 658 space platforms. So that's another, what, 13, 14 rocket launches there. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 rocket launches to go. So yeah, so we'll see if this ship works in the next episode. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please let me know with a like or a comment. And if you want to see more broadcasts from Space Age and want to see how we tackle Vulcanus, be sure to subscribe. Other than that, I hope you continue to have a wonderful holiday season. Have a great new year. And I'll see you in 2025. Bye-bye.